let's see. We got the Jund player on your right and the Murktide player on your left. Kevin Fiber, or sorry, excuse me, I had that backwards. Kevin Fiber on your right with Murktide. Lawrence McKee on your left with Jund. Jund gonna be on the play, but no turn one for them.
Now, I gotta say, for as much as Lawrence McKee plays Jund and is Jund guy, his deck isn't all foil. Which is weird. That's the modus operandi of Jund guy.
Well, there's a lot of new cards in the deck, so you got to give him some time. Okay, it's hard to find full Riveteer's Charms. There's 18 different versions. All right, Mishra's Bauble is the start. We're gonna start with a Ragavan as well, and a passage of the turn. Let's see if McKee has a removal spell.
Yeah, we do have
one of those triumphs.
3 bolts and 3 fatal pushes in the main to supplement the Tarfire, so 7 possible.
Summon the Tarfire.
Yeah, the Tarfire is number 1.
A statement that's never been uttered. All right. We're going to see the world's largest Tarmogoyf this round until the next set comes out and we get battles, whatever card type that does.
All right, we're getting big.
We're going to fetch the Riveteer Triland. And whose is that? That one's
that's Zayatora's Proving Ground.
Zayatora's Proving Ground. Nice one.
2 copies of that one in Lawrence McKee's deck.
Okay, we're going to do that instead of going for the end of turn bolt. So maybe that means that McKee's hand's a little weird on the colored sources.
Or maybe it means he's got a Ren and 6.
Oh, we call him Ren and Stinks when he kills your Ragavan.
Depends on how you feel about the monkey, I guess.
Oh, I like the monkey. I mean, it's obviously busted or whatever, but like, it's cool.
Okay. Instead has a lightning bolt to answer that.
I'd rather fight Ragavan every day of the week than Ren 6 every day of the week.
And a Bloodstained Mire. So, okay, just staying at parity here in the early turns. See if Fiber can replace that Ragavan with another threat. Nope. Just a Spiral of Canal and a pass.
All right, we're going to EOT fetch. McKee down to 18 after the second fetch. No damage from the opponent.
Now, with the way Lawrence McKee's deck is set up, there's no Bloodbraid Elves to get more pressure. His deck's actually set up to grind quite well. The Riveteer's Charms provide extra card advantage. We got extra Planeswalkers with these Grists. There's a Croxa. There's Seasoned Pyromancer. He's going to gear up to try to play a long game. And as powerful as the Izzet Murktide deck is, there is not a lot of card advantage in these decks. It's the 4 expressive iterations, and then maybe you see Archmage's Charm, and you don't see that in Fiber's list. So just expressive iteration to generate extra card advantage, as long as McKee can keep those Ragavans from connecting. All right. I do see 1 copy of Snapcaster Mage.
Cool. I love me some Snapcaster Mage. We have a Scavenging Ooze from McKee is countered by actual counterspell from Fiber. We're back his way. 3 mana at the ready. Passes back to McKee. Now, quick question. Does Fiber have Blood Moon in his main deck or sideboard?
There are some moons in the board, but none in the main.
Okay. All right, so we don't have to worry about that in game number 1. McKee, 4th mana. We're going to go for a Grist. Does Fiber have the answer? Actual counterspell. Number 2 takes out the Grist.
I think I see a Fatal Push in McKee's hand.
All right.
That's a Stomping Ground.
I don't know. It looks like a swamp.
Not sure what the last card is.
All right, Fiber fetches a basic island. This is somewhat indicative of an end-of-turn thing, or perhaps just a scare tactic with Blood Moon, but we're going to go for the EOT Consider. Top card.
And I see a Murktide Regent, is that an iteration, and maybe a fetch land, a Scalding
I thought I saw a Scalding Tarn as well.
Yeah. So
the money here, though, is that you're going to go Expressive Iteration into Murktide. That's your turn. It's a pretty powerful turn, if I say so.
And there's a Ragavan as well, so Fiber prioritizing getting some threats. I like that in this matchup.
Yeah.
Honestly, we could see the iteration get held. Maybe you want to iterate for 2 spells and you can't do that and play Murktide, but here you could just dash Ragavan and then play Murktide.
I really like that sequence, actually. That changes the dynamic of the turn quite a bit. I also like waiting as long as possible on Expressive Iteration if you have other things to do proactively.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of patience with the iterations. Fiber, not so much. Firing it off right now.
Well, it's just looking to do the thing that I said. Iteration into Murktide probably, but it looks like with the Consider being pulled off to the side, might just go Consider plus Ragavan this turn. That's not a bad turn at all.
Yeah, that's definitely solid. Gets another basic island off this Scalding Tarn.
The longer you wait on the Murktide region also puts some stress on the removal later in the game from McKee's side of things. Might have to burn something like Riveteer's Charm to kill that Ragavan, and then might not have the answer for the follow-up Murktide.
I do think I see a Fatal Push in McKee's hands. The Rogman should be checked, but I'm not sure if I see an answer for the Murktide.
All right, we're going to play the Consider that we found off Iteration. We're going to draw
Nice.
Spell Snare. That's a juicer.
Okay, and
Love that.
decides not to play the Ragavan because he found the Spell Snare, wants to hold that up for a potential Tarmogoyf or other 2-mana threat.
We've already seen a Scavenging Ooze, so, there's plenty of 2-drops in McKee's side of things that are potentially problematic. Spell Snare has been traditionally very good against Jund in the past, thanks to threats like Dark Confidant, Scavenging Ooze, and Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, and we got 2 Skoos, 4 Goyf, 3 Red, and 6 as good threats
All right.
to hit.
That's the Inquisition of Kozilek off the top. We're going to take a look. We see Murktide, Spell Snare, Consider, Ragavan, and Snapcaster Mage. A powerful hand, one you're not really happy to see if you're on McKee's side of things, but that's the nature of playing against Expressive Iteration. Hands always juiced.
And takes the Snapcaster Mage, takes the source of card advantage here. I like that. You're gearing up for a long game. This is not, one where you're trying to close the game quickly or even have the ability to. So just take the card that will eventually be a 2-for-1, even if it's not as immediately threatening.
All right, well, Fiber are going to cast Consider here, end of turn. Thinking about what to do with that top card. Is going to keep it. We'll go back his way with a grip full of cards and a handful. Grip full of cards and a board full of mana. We're going to start off with a
Now it's
Murktide.
Murktide time.
Murk time. Now, I'm not 100%, but I think the second card in hand, or the other card in hand they just drew, I think is another Murktide Regent.
Now, Fiber being careful there, trying to leave himself with Delirium, knows there's a lot more instants in the deck than sorcery, so going to try to leave the iteration if he can. Has 5 instants, has 4 other types, so has the ability to leave Delirium and max out this Murktide Regent. Just making sure to be careful with it. Nice play there.
Yeah, you always want to maintain Delirium if possible when you're delving. Sometimes you want to get the extra counter on the Murktide Regent, but it looks like we got all 5 counters this time. And now the question is, do we dash Ragavan or do we cast Ragavan and hold up Spell Snare? Personally, I'm a big fan of casting the Ragavan and then holding up the Spell Snare.
You could get a little greedy there and try to, dash the Ragavan and get a treasure to hold up the snare, but you got to expect there's some removal there from the Jund deck.
Yeah, now Ragavan dead with the Fatal Push, but Lawrence McKee facing down an 8/8 Murktide Regent. How do you beat this monster?
Doesn't have the answer. McKee at 17 life now. Murktide going to drop him to 9.
You know how people have been beating this card in Legacy? Snuff Out. Snuff Out one, I think, would be super cool for Modern, honestly, but an oldie but a goodie.
They also have Red Elemental Blast in Legacy. They got all the goodies.
That's true. All
There's
right.
a Lightning Bolt and a Boseiju, I believe, are those front 2 cards.
Yeah.
Not sure what the third one is.
Well, it's not something that kills Murktide because I'm pretty sure Boseiju was the draw for the turn. So we're going to smash for 8 again. Let's see if Fiber can find one more piece of damage to close the game this turn.
Yeah, a bit of mana flood here from McKee, and his one source of card advantage was that Grist that ate a counterspell.
Yeah.
Didn't really find anything else.
All right, we're going to main phase the fetch. This means probably the Fiber is going to try to do something on his main phase before attacks, maybe dashing another Ragavan. And that's going to draw Bolt from McKee, maybe. Maybe is going to lead with Expressive Iteration and wants to thin the deck slightly. Looking for a spell to play. Maybe looking for a Murktide cast here, huh?
Yeah.
That's going to grow the one in play a little bit, and that's going to get it over the hump.
And does exactly that. Still leaves himself Delirium. Makes a lethal attacker.
All right, okay, so going to bolt that, but I think we're just dead to this guy. Drew Assassin Trophy for the turn,
No,
but the Spell Snare takes care of it. Well played from Kevin Fiber, and Lawrence McKee defeated in game number 1. Is a Murktide, the marquee card, really showing off there.
Yeah, and he could have taken the more aggressive line and dashing the Ragavan, and had he done that, I think things could have fallen apart quickly. Right. It would have given that Assassin's Trophy a window to resolve, but plays very carefully there and takes it down. Impressive game 1 from Murktide in a matchup that I would be a little scared of. This Jund deck I think grinds a little bit better, has a lot of quality removal for your threats. So taking game 1 and getting to sideboard and match line up your answers a little bit better, really important for Fiber here.
All right, let's take a look at Kevin Fiber's player slide, because this is one of our top 8 players on the Apex Gaming Invitational Series. Kevin Fiber 6 top 8 finishes with a conversion rate of 54.6%. That means that he played 11 events and top 8'd over half of them. Very, very well done on that regard. Average dog dad, I would say above average dog dad. If you're a dog dad, that just means you're better than most other people.
Look how happy that dog looks.
I know. That dog is like, what is happening right now? When I drink iced coffee, I win. That's cool. When I drink Red Bull, I win. And I had a Red Bull today. That's why my commentary's aces.
Can't confirm yet whether or not Fibers had some iced coffee.
2-0.
We do have
1-0 with a bye.
Yeah, but we do have a coffee truck outside, so I imagine he has gotten some coffee.
That's true. Yeah, there's an awesome little community here in Caldwell. They have a coffee truck, like a food truck that comes around whenever we have a tournament, and I'm sure it's a good business day for her. But Magic players do love them some coffee. I remember when I was traveling with Brad Nelson, we would just stop at every Starbucks along the way.
Looking at a Fiber's sideboard, though, I do see 1 copy of Fury, 1 Subtlety, 1 Abrade, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Unlicensed Hearse, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Blood Moon, and 2 Dress Down. Not a ton that I like here. I think you're sort of priced in bringing in Blood Moon, though McKee does have some basics. I see a Swamp, a Forest, and a Mountain, so pretty typical to have 1 of each in Jund. I think the Fury is actually pretty good, just to give yourself like a heavy hitter to draw in the late game.
Okay.
I like juicing the top of my deck when I'm playing against Thoughtseize decks, and I actually like the Dress Downs too. I'm sure you're familiar with the years where Izzet decks had to jump through some hoops to deal with Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
It was a lot of Relic of Progenitus and then bolt it.
Yep.
And I think you could do something similar with Dress Down. And it's just such a low opportunity cost card to be able to do that. Sometimes you can nab, the trigger of Fury or the trigger of Scavenging Ooze.
Yo!
And do some good stuff with that.
Jim Davis with a big raid. Jim, how was your stream, man? Thanks for the raid. Appreciate you. Me and Jim have a really good origin story of how we met.
And I have heard this story.
I might tell it later, but for now, we have game number 2 about to come up. Well, we got a mulligan. Okay, all right, I'll tell you the Jim Davis story. Here we go. All right, so I'm a youngin', 19 years old, qualified for my first pro tour. It's in Hawaii. I have to borrow money for a plane to get there, right? And once we get to the pro tour, I don't have a hotel booked because I'm 19. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to figure it out when I get there, obviously. When I'm at the airport, I see a man with long dreadlocks with a Magic the Gathering Pro Tour shirt on, and I approach him. I'm like, hey, man, I'm here for the pro tour. How about you? He's like, yeah, me too. Like, well, I don't have a hotel booked. Do you have a roommate in your hotel? Would you like to share costs? I'm only 19 years old. I'm just a kid. And he said, yeah, that's cool. And that man with the dreadlocks, Jim Davis. Been friends ever since.
Okay, players have shuffled up and are starting. Looks like a fetch into an Inquisition.
Yeah. All right, Inquisition's going to reveal a hand from Kevin Fiber's side. A lot of blue interaction, no threats. We have Expressive Iteration, Bauble, Counterspell, Spell Snare, and a card I can't really tell what it is, as well as a Spire Bluff, Canal, and Island.
Yeah, not sure what that 4th card is.
It looks like a colorless and a red. It might be Blood Moon, but it also might be a Braid. Literally impossible to tell. Okay, Inquisition resolving here. Let's see what Lawrence McKee is most afraid of. Gonna take Spell Snare, so wants to prioritize resolving a 2-drop next turn. So likely Tarmogoyf coming down. That's a pretty scary one.
Yeah, that's the scariest take if you're Fiber. You're really kind of hoping they take the iteration of the counterspell. Now you're really going to be behind the 8 ball against whatever threat McKee has on turn 2.
All right, well, back McKee's way. We're going to take a look at the top card. We're doing this on McKee's turn so that there's one less card in case of another discard effect. Here comes Tarmogoyf. Now, Tarmogoyf used to be a nightmare for Lightning Bolt decks. Now with Unholy Heat around, it's not as bad, but it's still kind of scary.
And we see 4 cards in graveyards right now, and they are 4 different types. So that is a 4/5 Tarmogoyf.
All right, here's a Consider. It's going to grow the Tarmogoyf potentially.
Yeah, I see land, instant, artifact for Fiber in the graveyard, so a little short of Delirium here.
Yep.
Gonna have to put in some work probably with this iteration before Unholy Heating the Tarmogoyf.
All right, I believe I was right about the Braid on Fiber's side. I believe that black card in hand is a Braid.
Interesting. No artifacts in the main deck of McKee's list. Potentially bringing in expecting sideboard on licensed hearses.
Mhm.
And I don't see any hearses. It's 2 endurances as graveyard hate of choice. So,
Kevin, with 3 fresh draws since last turn, 1 from the bobble, 1 from the draw step, and the consider, now has a hand of 3 threats to go along with the things in play, I believe. A Snapcaster Mage, a Ragavan, and a Ledger Shredder. Let's see what the play is, and we're going to go Shredding.
none of those cards do a lot in the face of this Tarmogoyf.
No, but it's only attacking for 4 damage. You can take a couple hits from it. And with Unholy Heat potentially found next turn off iteration, like, it's possible Tarmogoyf just ends up, hitting once or twice, but, without a follow-up pressure, it might not be good enough. But we'll see what McKee has here.
Yeah, the follow-up here from McKee will be important. If he just has the Tarmogoyf, Fiber will have some time to find an answer. If he has more threats on top of it, things could pretty quickly spiral out of control because the Shredder and the Ragavan are not going to play very good defense.
Looks like we have a Tarfire in hand, but we're fetching a Swamp, so 3 drops coming probably.
A little punished for playing Tarfire instead of a 4th Bolt or 4th Push here.
Well, you got to grow that Goyf somehow. Seal of Fire was always my favorite way to grow Tarmogoyf because not many people play enchantments. Urza Saga changed that a little bit. There's more enchantments going to the graveyard these days, but Seal of Fire used to be a nice one.
Nice to be able to play that one proactively too, and then just have it around for 0 mana. Yeah, it's Starfire, Verdant Catacombs, and okay, here's an Endurance. Little awkward.
I love this play. A main phase Endurance here from McKee. Does he have 2 green mana? Oh, that's a Forest. I thought that was the Swamp. Okay, so he's going to go ahead and shuffle his own graveyard back in. I actually really like hitting the opponent's graveyard just to slow down Murktide Regent. And with just Inquisition of Kozilek going back, I guess he just wanted to make sure the Tarmogoyf stayed above Lightning Bolt range, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, back Fiber's way.
And it'll go back to a 4/5 as soon as this iteration resolves.
Yeah. So here's iteration. We found the Unholy Heat.
And the Red Saurus. That is exactly what Fiber needed. In fact, finds 2 Red Sauruses, chooses to take the Painless one, Inspire Bluff Canal over the Fire Islet. And yeah, it's going to be able to Unholy Heat the Tarmogoyf, trigger Connive.
All right. See what he discards here. Maybe the Abrade doesn't handle either of the creatures right now.
Yeah, and you're not a very graveyard-centric hand, so I could definitely see the Abrade being the pitch here. Instead, pitches a Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah, since we're already getting Connive, it's essentially just cycling of a draw, so maybe not as strong as some of the interactive pieces or threats in hand.
Now this 2/4, we can block the Endurance, but then Tarfire will finish it off. Looks like Fiber decides not to block, falls to 13. Saw a reach for a pen, I think.
It's the fastest no block in history, and you got to imagine McKee is not super stoked about that. Wanted the block, wanted to clear the Ledger Shredder, but Fiber keen, no block, and we're back his way.
Well, now this Tarfire would be able to answer the Ragavan. So that's also important.
All right, we're going to play Bobble. We're going to
Ooh,
Unholy
found a
Heat on
second
the
heat.
Endurance. Wow.
Yeah, McKee getting pretty punished here for using the Endurance on himself and not Fiber. Played around Bolt, but did not play around Unholy Heat. And Heat is what Fiber has had.
All right, finds Lightning Bolt, but that one not enough to kill the 2/4. Maybe in tandem with the Unholy Heat can take care of it, or the Tarfire can kill it next turn. But that'll offer a Connive for Fiber, so not the greatest answer. We're going to smash for 3.
There is the Abrade being discarded to that second Connive. And I believe that's a couple counter spells along with the Ragavan in hand for Fiber. Also has Bauble with that fetch land to do a little digging.
Has Snapcaster Mage too. Could go snap Unholy Heat instead. Looks like that's what he's prepared for in case of no play from McKee. That body is going to potentially draw the Tarfire or some other removal spell. Snapcaster Mage is going to allow for another Connive trigger. Just a really cool sequence from Fiber at the end step if no counterspell is needed.
Yeah, things looking pretty good for Fiber here. Just found the removal he needed to answer McKee's early threats. And once again, McKee not presenting a lot of card advantage. Hasn't found his Planeswalkers, hasn't found his Riveteer's Charms. It's all 1-for-1 threats. And Fiber has just been answering them and found an iteration to go up on cards.
Ooh, so no Snapcaster Mage end step, valuing the ability to play Spell Snare, Unholy Heat, some reactive element over the extra body, knowing that McKee likely has some of those, somewhat pseudo-dead removal spells in hand. Tire Fire on the Ragavan Dash. It's going to stifle that. I don't think Kevin's going to fight over it. It doesn't seem that important.
It does represent a 2-turn clock, these 2 creatures, so it's tempting, but I think patience is the order of the day here.
All right, 3 damage from the Ledger Shredder. That one keeps on chunking in. We'll see if Fiber has a post-combat play. Might just predictably be fetching Island to hold up counterspell. Sometimes you get some weird stuff happening, but if this is a Murktide region, I can't imagine McKee has a route to victory.
Yeah, just a bolt in hand for McKee, so that's a 3rd Unholy Heat, man.
Yeah, all right. Well, he did find the Murktide region. We're going to exile 5 instants and sorceries, and now McKee's going to need back-to-back big removal spells to kill these monsters.
And here, fetching down to 6, that could get awkward. You know,
Yeah.
if he rips a removal spell for the Murktide, this Ledger Shredder is still going to get him into bolt range. So might have wanted to leave that fetch uncracked, instead going for the minor advantage of thinning his deck when he is on such slim outs.
All right, well, we're going to get a Connive trigger.
Discards counterspell. That's a
Sure,
bad sign
sure.
if you're McKee.
Yeah. The last couple cards got to be just like card advantage or threats, you know. And
Yeah,
there it is.
nothing
McKee
coming.
backs it up. Murktide Regent coming down both games, dominating. The red removal from McKee, unable to kill it since it was bigger than a 6/6. So no Unholy Heats. Fatal Push doesn't do it. Lightning Bolt doesn't do it. Nothing does it.
Yeah.
Murktide, too big. Too
For
strong.
a deck that McKee is labeled Jund Control, just didn't really have the right reactive answers for the threats his opponent was presenting, and didn't have a lot of card advantage to be able to find the right ones. So not a very impressive showing, but already 2-0, so he's got one to give. He'll regroup and try to pick up some more wins later in the tournament. But Kevin Fiber, starting off with that bye, gets now 2 wins in a row, looking in good shape in this 7-round $10,000 tournament.
Yeah.
3-0 start is very nice.